The surprising truth about love after 60. Did you know that more seniors over 60 are beginning new romances today than at any other time in history? But here's the twist. Keeping those connections alive has less to do with candlelit dinners or grand gestures, and far more to do with something most people overlook. For decades, society painted a picture that once you cross 60, romance is supposed to fade into the background. You're told to settle down, to focus on health or grandkids, as if passion, intimacy, and connection were only meant for the young. But the truth. Many seniors are discovering that love in later life can be deeper, more intentional, and even more adventurous than it ever was in their 20s or 30s. Think about it. By 60 you've lived, you've learned, and you've let go of a lot of the insecurities that held you back when you were younger. That means you're in the perfect position to experience love without the pressure of perfection. And this is where the real magic begins, because when you stop chasing the old rules about what romance should look like, you start writing a new story about what it can look like. And here's where most people get it wrong. They think love after 60 is about slowing down. In reality, it's about rediscovery. Rediscovering joy, rediscovering intimacy, and rediscovering the parts of yourself that deserve to be celebrated. So, what exactly makes romance after 60 thrive? Stay with me because the answer will surprise you. Meet Eleanora Mayfield. Let me introduce you to someone whose story might sound familiar, even if her name stands out. Eleanora Mayfield. At 67 years old, she's a retired choir director from a small town in Ohio. For most of her life, music was her anchor. She spent decades guiding voices, blending harmonies, and pouring her energy into teaching others to sing. But when she stepped away from the choir loft, silence began to settle into her everyday life, and not just in music. Eleanora had been widowed for almost a decade. She loved her late husband deeply, and when he passed, she quietly convinced herself that romance was a chapter closed for good. Her world became predictable. Coffee at the same kitchen table every morning, weekly grocery trips, and Sunday calls with her daughter. To neighbors she seemed content. But deep down she carried a quiet ache, an ache many seniors know well, that question of, is this it? Is companionship behind me forever? What makes Eleanora's story powerful isn't just her longing, but what happened next. One evening, her granddaughter set up a tablet for her so they could video chat more easily. At first it was just a piece of technology, a way to stay in touch. But then, Eleanora stumbled into something she hadn't expected. An online community for music lovers her age. There she reconnected with laughter, friendship, and yes, a spark of something more. Here's the surprising part. Eleanora didn't find love by chasing it. She found it by leaning into what gave her joy. Music, humor, and connection. Through that, she met Harold, a retired science teacher who shared her love for gospel songs and corny jokes. Their first date wasn't a dinner out. It was singing a duet over a Zoom call, laughing when they both forgot the words. Eleanora's journey reminds us of something vital. Romance after 60 doesn't always arrive the way it did in your youth. It doesn't have to start with candlelight and roses. Sometimes it begins with a simple conversation, a shared laugh, or rediscovering the passions that make you feel alive. Her story matters because it breaks the myth that love after loss, or after a certain age, is impossible. It shows that intimacy isn't about going back to what you had before. It's about embracing who you are now, with all the wisdom and scars you've gathered along the way. So as we walk through Eleanora's journey, let her be our guide. Because in her story, we'll uncover the secrets to keeping romance not only alive but flourishing after 60. And you might just see pieces of your own story in hers. The emotional playfulness. When most people hear the word playfulness, they picture children on a playground or young couples teasing each other over coffee. But here's the overlooked truth. Playfulness is not about age. It's about energy, creativity, and joy. And for seniors, especially those over 60, playfulness may be the single most underrated key to keeping romance alive. Think about it. By the time you've reached your 60s or 70s, life has given you responsibilities, losses, and lessons. Those things are important, but they can also weigh you down. What playfulness does is lift some of that weight, reminding you and your partner that it's okay to laugh, to be silly, and to rediscover wonder together. And studies now show that seniors who infuse humor and play into their relationships report stronger emotional bonds and even better health outcomes. Take Eleanora Mayfield, for example. After connecting with Harold, she realized that if their relationship was going to thrive, it couldn't just be about serious talks or revisiting the past. So together, they created something simple but powerful, the date night adventure jar. They wrote down ideas on little slips of paper, everything from watching the sunrise with coffee in hand, to trying a line dancing class at the local community center, to baking a new recipe neither of them had attempted before. Every Friday night, they'd pull a slip and commit to doing it. What happened next was magical. It wasn't just about the activities. It was about the anticipation, the laughter when things went wrong, like the time their gourmet cooking night ended with smoke alarms and takeout, or the shared delight of discovering something new together. Each slip of paper became an invitation to see one another with fresh eyes, and it reminded them that joy doesn't expire with age. And here's where this becomes advice for you. Playfulness doesn't need to be grand or expensive. It could be telling a corny joke at breakfast, having a spontaneous slow dance in the living room, or challenging each other to a trivia game about your favorite old movies. The goal isn't to impress, it's to connect. This kind of lightheartedness also opens the door to deeper intimacy. When you laugh together, walls come down. When you surprise each other, even in small ways, you keep curiosity alive. And curiosity is the heartbeat of lasting romance. So let's flip the script. Instead of seeing playfulness as something you left behind in your youth, see it as a gift that becomes more meaningful now. Because after all the ups and downs life has brought you, don't you deserve to laugh harder, love deeper, and create memories that feel brand new? Stay tuned, because the next secret we'll uncover is one that surprises almost everyone. It's about how seniors today are using unexpected tools to build connection. And it may be something you've overlooked in your own life. For many people over 60, the idea of using technology for romance or companionship can feel intimidating. Smartphones, apps, video chats, these things weren't part of the dating scene when you were younger. But here's the truth. Technology is no longer just for the young. Seniors across the United States are embracing it in ways that are reshaping how they connect, find love, and keep relationships exciting. Take dating apps, for example. While younger people may dominate platforms like Tinder, there are now senior-focused spaces like Our Time and Silver Singles, designed specifically for people over 50. These apps aren't about swiping endlessly. They're about creating thoughtful connections with others who share your stage of life. For seniors who feel their local community is too small or their social circles have grown quiet, these platforms open doors to friendships and even romance that might never have happened otherwise. But digital connection goes far beyond dating. During the pandemic, many seniors discovered the magic of Zoom book clubs and online hobby groups. These communities are still thriving today. Imagine being able to discuss your favorite mystery novel with people across the country or learn watercolor painting from a retired artist in Florida, all from your living room. For couples like Eleanora and Harold, joining a virtual cooking class gave them something fun to do together, even when they didn't feel like leaving the house. And then there's something truly groundbreaking: virtual reality experiences. More and more retirement communities and senior organizations are using VR to let people travel anywhere in the world. Imagine putting on a lightweight headset and suddenly walking the streets of Paris or standing on the edge of the Grand Canyon. Couples are using VR not only for travel but also for interactive games and shared adventures, keeping curiosity alive in entirely new ways. The key here isn't about mastering every new gadget or spending hours online. It's about embracing small doses of technology that bring novelty, joy, and connection into your life. A video chat with a grandchild, a shared playlist on Spotify, or even learning how to text emojis to your partner. These little touches keep communication playful and fresh. For seniors who may feel hesitant, remember this. Technology doesn't replace real-world love or companionship. simply extends the ways you can nurture it. When used with intention, these tools can help couples break out of routines, discover shared passions, and build stronger bonds. So if you've ever felt nervous about trying something new online, take a tip from Eleonora. Start small, stay curious, and let technology be a bridge, not a barrier to deeper connection. And just wait, because the next secret may feel even more personal. It's about rewriting the way we think about physical intimacy after 60. And it's a conversation too important to ignore. When most people hear the word intimacy, their minds immediately go to physical performance. And for seniors, that can feel like a closed door, because society often tells us that aging automatically means the end of passion. But here's the truth. Intimacy after 60 isn't about recreating the past. It's about discovering new rhythms that honor your body, your partner, and the stage of life you're in now. For Eleonora and Harold, this was one of the biggest surprises. At first, she worried that her age and health challenges might make closeness difficult. But instead of avoiding the subject, they talked about it, openly, gently, and without shame. That conversation alone created a new level of trust between them. And that's the first secret most people miss. Intimacy begins with communication, not performance. In fact, many seniors today are realizing that tenderness, comfort, and emotional connection matter far more than any picture-perfect standard of romance we were taught in our younger years. A hand held during a morning walk, a kiss on the forehead before bed, or even simply sitting close while watching a favorite show. These acts may look small, but they carry incredible weight. And here's something important. Physical intimacy doesn't vanish because of age. It simply changes form. Health issues, medications, or mobility limitations can create challenges, yes, but they also invite creativity. Couples are finding joy in new approaches. Longer conversations, more affection, massages, or slow dances in the kitchen. It's less about keeping up, and more about slowing down, savoring, and listening to one another's needs. Doctors and therapists who work with seniors increasingly encourage what's called whole intimacy. This means intimacy is not just about the body, it's about being fully present with each other. When you laugh together, when you share a story you've never told before, or when you give your partner your undivided attention, you're nurturing intimacy just as much as through physical touch. For couples like Eleonora and Harold, this shift was liberating. Instead of feeling pressure to live up to old expectations, they embraced a new kind of closeness that made them feel safe, desired, and deeply connected. And that's something every senior deserves to know. Intimacy doesn't fade with time. It evolves into something richer, more meaningful, and uniquely yours. So the next time you think intimacy is behind you, remember this. It may just be waiting for you in a different form, one that feels more honest, more freeing, and more real than ever before. And coming up next, we'll reveal another secret that often goes unnoticed. Why building a shared purpose beyond romance can make your relationship stronger than ever. One of the most overlooked secrets to keeping love alive after 60 is this. Romance doesn't exist in a vacuum. It thrives when couples have something bigger than themselves to share. A sense of purpose can transform a relationship from comfortable companionship into a living, breathing partnership filled with meaning. For Eleonora and Harold, this truth revealed itself unexpectedly. After a few months of dating, they realized that while dinners and movie nights were fun, what truly made them feel connected was working side by side on something that mattered. Harold had a background in science education, and Eleonora had her decades of music experience. So together, they began volunteering at a local after-school program. He tutoring kids in math, she leading a small choir of eager voices. What started as giving back quickly became something more, a shared mission that deepened their bond. This is what so many seniors overlook. Once careers end and children are grown, couples can feel like their shared goals have disappeared. But purpose doesn't vanish with retirement. It simply shifts. Today, seniors across the U.S. are finding meaning together in countless ways. Starting a small garden to supply the local food pantry, mentoring young entrepreneurs through community centers, or even launching hobby businesses like selling handmade crafts at farmers markets. These projects may seem small, But they keep couples dreaming together, planning together, and celebrating victories together. And here's the best part. Shared purpose creates new stories. When you and your partner step into something larger than daily routines, you create fresh memories that go beyond what's for dinner. You get to watch each other shine in new roles, and you discover strengths you may never have noticed before. That rediscovery can reignite admiration and respect, the foundation of lasting romance. It also combats one of the biggest emotional challenges of later life: loneliness. Purpose brings couples into connection with others, whether it's younger generations, neighbors, or fellow volunteers. It reminds you that your love story is not only for you, it can ripple outward and leave a legacy. For seniors, building a shared purpose doesn't mean reinventing the wheel. It could be as simple as walking dogs together at a shelter, hosting neighborhood potlucks, or taking on a fitness challenge as a team. What matters is not the scale of the project, but the fact that you're building something side by side. So if you've ever felt that your relationship has slipped into routine, ask yourself, what's something we could do together that would make us both proud? The answer might just be the spark that turns ordinary days into extraordinary ones. And stay with me, because the next secret may surprise you. It's about the small teasers and cliffhangers you can weave into your relationship that keep curiosity and excitement alive, even after decades together. Here's a secret most people overlook, not just in relationships but in storytelling too. What keeps us leaning forward, eager for what comes next, isn't always the big dramatic moment. It's the little teasers, the hints, the unanswered questions that make us want to stay just a little longer. And the same principle works beautifully in romance after 60. Think about the TV shows you love. They end an episode not by answering everything, but by leaving you curious. What's going to happen next? That anticipation keeps you coming back. Relationships thrive on that same kind of gentle suspense. When couples sprinkle small surprises, playful teases, or cliffhangers into their daily lives, they keep curiosity alive. And curiosity is the spark that keeps love from going stale. For Eleonora and Harold, this became part of their relationship rhythm. Instead of telling each other the full plan for every outing, they dropped just enough hints to build excitement. Harold once told Eleonora, "Dress comfortably, but don't ask why." She spent the whole day wondering what he had in mind, until he drove her to a riverside trail where they enjoyed a surprise picnic at sunset. Another time, Eleonora teased him with, "Clear your Friday night. You'll need your dancing shoes." That tiny element of mystery turned an ordinary week into something they couldn't stop smiling about. And here's where this applies directly to you. You don't need grand gestures to create anticipation. It could be as simple as saying, "I've got a surprise for you after dinner," and then pulling out an old photo album to flip through together. Or texting your partner in the morning, "Can't tell you why, but tonight is going to make you laugh." These small teasers build anticipation and show your partner that you're still thinking about how to keep the relationship vibrant. Even for seniors who are single or newly dating, cliffhanger moments can transform connection. Instead of revealing everything about yourself on the first call, hold back one fun story to share the next time. Or end a conversation with, "Remind me to tell you about the most embarrassing thing that ever happened to me in choir." That one's a classic. Not only does this create playful intrigue, it gives the other person a reason to look forward to the next interaction. Now let's bring this back to you, the viewer. Have you ever tried bringing playfulness back into your relationship? Tell us in the comments. I'd love to hear your stories. And keep watching, because the final secret we're about to share is the one that surprises almost everyone. Just might change the way you look at love forever. As we circle back to Eleonora Mayfield's story, it's clear her 60s didn't become a season of endings, they became a season of rediscovery. What she once feared was behind her turned out to be the beginning of something extraordinary. She now calls this chapter of her life her decade of rediscovered romance. And when you hear her describe it, you can almost feel the joy radiating from her voice. For Eleonora, romance after 60 wasn't about recreating what she once had with her late husband. It wasn't about pretending she was still in her 20s or trying to keep up with some outdated image of passion. Instead, it was about leaning into who she was now, wiser, freer, and more aware of what really matters. The laughter she shared with Harold, the gentle surprises, the shared purpose, and the renewed sense of intimacy all wove together into a love story that felt richer than anything she could have imagined a decade earlier. Her transformation wasn't just about finding a partner. It was about rediscovering herself. She began to sing again, not just in choirs but in her living room. She started looking forward to mornings, not because of routine, but because each day carried a sense of possibility. Even her granddaughter noticed the change, saying, "Grandma, you glow differently now." That glow wasn't about makeup or style. It was the glow of someone who allowed love, joy, and connection back into her life. And this is the bigger message. Love after 60 is not about slowing down. It's about deepening connection, deepening appreciation, and deepening the courage to show up fully as yourself. It's proof that romance doesn't have an expiration date, and that the heart remains ageless when nurtured. So if you've ever thought your best years of love were behind you, let Eleonora's journey be your reminder. Your story isn't over. In fact, the most beautiful chapters might still be unwritten. Whether you're single, widowed, divorced, or long married, the opportunity to rediscover romance, on your own terms, is still within reach. And here's the question for you. What would your decade of rediscovery look like? What passions, connections, or dreams are waiting for you to embrace them? Stay with me because in just a moment we'll wrap up with one final call. A chance for you to take this inspiration and turn it into real change in your own life. Share the secret. If Eleonora's journey has shown us anything, it's that love doesn't retire. It doesn't fade away simply because we reach a certain age. It grows, it deepens, and it surprises us in ways we never imagined. And maybe, just maybe, you needed to hear that reminder today. So let me ask you this. Has this story sparked a thought, a memory, or even a little hope in you? If it has, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that like button. It may seem small, but every tap helps this message reach another senior who might be sitting at home right now, wondering if their days of love and connection are behind them. And here's where you come in. Sharing this video is more than passing along a story. It's spreading a lifeline. Think about your friends, your neighbors, even that one person in your church group or book club who hasn't smiled in a while. By sending this to them, you're telling them, you're not done. There's more joy waiting for you. Sometimes, all it takes is hearing someone else's story, like Eleonora's, to open a door they thought was permanently closed. I also want to hear from you. Tell us in the comments, what's one way you've kept romance alive after 60? Or if you're still searching, what's one thing you'd love to rediscover in yourself? Your story might inspire another viewer more than you know. This channel isn't just about videos. It's about building a community where seniors can laugh, learn, and remind each other that we're not alone on this journey. And if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe. Because every week, we're diving into the real secrets of senior relationships. Stories, advice, and fresh perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. By subscribing, you're not just joining a channel. You're joining a movement to rewrite what it means to love after 60. So here's the challenge. Don't just watch this video, act on it. Like it. Comment on it. Share it with someone who needs encouragement today. Because love doesn't have an expiration date, and you never know whose life you might touch simply by passing along this message. This is Senior Relationships After 60, and together, we're proving that the best chapters of love might still be ahead.